So the kitchen sequence set, and we like this one because it really showcased the art direction. And for me, like so much of the look of this movie, the world that we create, is that typical Tim Burton suburban gothic of Edward Scissorhands and some of his Ed Wood and such. And it goes back to his personal experience growing up in Southern California in Burbank in the sort of early 70s, and kind of trying to capture the feeling of that world and the feeling of his memory of that world was a fun kind of challenge for us. This gave everybody the opportunity to just do some really fun homages to that era, like the big spoon and fork, the rooster plates. I personally want one of those duck knife holders because I've never seen one, and I just think they're the cutest thing ever. And so sometimes these kind of sets just are a prop maker's joy, because they can really just go to town and get stuff in there, and they run stuff by Tim, but like a lot of stuff is like there's a little postcard from London on the fridge, which was kind of a little homage to the crew that worked on the film. So it's just kind of sweet that they have friends that lived in London. Just the lists. And these are some of the props, and we tried to kind of separate them, sort of dad props, mom props. So here we have dad's tools and some, just sort of handyman things, and then his hi-fi with the records. Like Barry Jones and Gavin Dean were actually two of our art directors. So it's always fun for the crew to look at the movie, because you'll constantly see like there's a bike that says Body on it, which I'm like, I want that bike. It's so cute. And so it's really fun to kind of see our names in things. This is the mom side, and it's as you remember, they eat fondue, which was another nod to something that Tim remembered fondly, I suppose, if not ironically, about his youth. And so therefore we had to figure out a way to make fondue look appetizing in black and white, which is not clear that we did. But it's been fun, and also this kind of is a good place to talk about the black and white, because it does seem like at first we started painting things in color so that we would have sort of local color and local values, and it just was playing tricks with our eyes. Like once we pulled the color out of the digital stills, it just didn't look right. It wasn't pure enough. And so we started, Rick Heinrich decided, let's just really start painting in values and the colors that we think it should be. Sometimes we can't, because if you're sort of sourcing little tiny things like that, to paint them would look sloppy, and you would see it on screen. So sometimes there'll be little hints of color that actually look fine in black and white, but by and large we wanted to make the entire world really go into shades of gray, and kind of really create the environment that we felt like we wanted the audience to be in, so that the animators could sort of start in that world as well. So I think it really did help. I think often an animator will have to go into a scene for 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, sometimes months, depending on how long the scene is. And so you really want them to feel like when they go into that set, they're in a world that they can inhabit and create magic in. All of the fabrics that you see will all be lined with tinfoil, because, like, for instance, if she picks up a dishcloth, that all has to animate one frame at a time. And so, like, even though things look like they're very soft, they're all very hard, and all you know exactly where they're going to crease and where they're going to fold. The tables and chairs, like, someone asked a question of what this table is made of, all made of steel. Because once you put that table down, it has to stay down and not move. Oftentimes we will drill holes in the set, and actually the chairs will go into the set so that they are absolutely rock solid. Because really, you only want to move in a frame what you want to move. And so that's, to me, like one of the crazy things. Like, you're doing something and you're like, oh, that's perfect, and then you just move and you knock his head, and it's like, you start all over again. I animated one scene on Nightmare Before Christmas because they said, oh, it's so easy, anybody can do it. Yeah. The hardest thing I've ever done in my life. It was 18 frames. It took me like 2 weeks to do it. It was horrible. I had to do it like 10 times. And literally, like, you move one thing and you just don't realize what else will move when you move it. So those guys have a steady hand. They should be surgeons. We have some fun stuff on I think this one doesn't have it on the side, but there's some pictures on the side if you look around a little bit later. These are the flamingos from Mr. Burgermeister's house. I think that was also a fun sort of design challenge for us, is how do you make Burgermeister's house different from Victor's house? And in a glance, you really see that guy, he's got the perfectly manicured lawn and the topiaries and the flamingos, And their lawn just looks like a regular lawn. There's some dry patches and such, but really just make that contrast between the two buildings. And I think that we made that pretty fun, the distinctions.